Ladies and gents, welcome back. Justin Trudeau, running out of ideas on how to ruin the country that he governs, took to California to speak with a pro. Here he is with Governor Gavin Newsom, discussing what a great job they've been doing over this time and how fun it is to meet up with each other. Also, hobnobbling with a bunch of Hollywood types. You know, the ones that are not smart enough to have left the state by now. Here we have Adam Savage. Had a truly lovely evening in LA last evening with an old friend. Redundant words. Canada and Canadians are a gift to the world, he says. Kim Jong-un and Nicolas Maduro couldn't make it to the party, evidently. But Justin Trudeau coming out and in an interview, just saying things that you feel like he's completely self-unaware, or at least that he believes his own BS at this point. So we have HOC, a House of Commons staffer, putting out here, Trudeau is so self-unaware that he doesn't realize that he is the monster that he speaks of. Quite astounding. Let's have a listen to this.
We're seeing a backsliding of democracy everywhere around the world. And it has a lot to do with all sorts of different things, anxieties around the pace at which the world is changing, and people are looking towards easy answers or strongman leaders that are sort of reassuring. And democracy is hard. Yeah. And it requires work, it requires tending, it requires deliberate efforts to not just believe simplistic answers either from the left or the right, but know that you have to actually work at it and plug away and be almost earnest in how you lead things. And that idea of responsible leadership contrasts directly with some of the simplistic button pushing that happens out there in accelerated and enhanced by social media tools. Mm-hmm. But the challenge has been there a long while. When I got elected in 2015, so 7 years ago, one of the things that we put forward, and I remember saying this a whole bunch of times, attack politics, divisive politics, negative, stirring up of hate and fear and differences. The dirty secret is they work. Mm-hmm. Even back in 2015, they work to get you elected.
Sure, yeah.
You can do that. You can mobilize and get elected. It's just what we're seeing is that once you've used those methods to get elected, it becomes incredibly hard to govern responsibly for all citizens in bringing people together and getting big things done. Because once you start, churning up anger, it just feeds on itself. And if you're not continually throwing fresh raw meat at it, right. It will get away from you entirely. Yeah. And that's where we're seeing in Canada a certain number of people who stirred up that starting to have it sort of turn back against them a little bit.
I want to pull this thread a little bit.
I can't even believe that those are the words that came out of his mouth. It's absolutely astonishing. Here we have even the CBC reporting Trudeau's government has adopted dozens of secret cabinet orders since coming to power. He's at most of any prime minister in Canadian history. I believe at 78 secret orders. But we can have a look at some of his other scandals here. Trudeau's public safety minister got caught lying about the Emergencies Act and must resign. This is about the member of parliament who's never been convicted of a sexual crime, Marco Mendicino. We also have drumming up hate. This is him just only back in February.
The small fringe minority of people who are on their way to Ottawa or who are holding unacceptable views that they're expressing do not represent the views of Canadians who have been there for each other, who know that following the science and stepping up to protect each other is the best way to continue to ensure our freedoms are
right. So these were the people that followed the science and actually were there for each other. But here he is demonizing Canadians, and what for? So you can declare a state of emergency against a protest, a legal, lawful protest that obviously the police couldn't break up because there was no lawful reason for them to break up the protest. So they declared a state of emergency. Ontario declared a state of emergency, and then that wasn't enough. So Trudeau himself declared a state of emergency, invoking the Emergencies Act, which used to be the War Measures Act, to break up the protest, and then revoked it. What? After it had been affirmed by the Senate? No, before the Senate could vote on it, and a lot of people speculating that while they weren't going to vote for it, it seemed that way at the time. And there was actually rumblings about rumors of secret cabinet confidence meetings where they were talking about how this was going to be great for them politically. And, well, we all know that emergency powers should not be used as a political tool, although we're kind of seeing that to be the case. But we have a government here that is, maybe a slippage, a little bit of a slippage away from democratic tendencies. When there was a protest and there was no dialogue, he ran away. He went and hid in the cabin, in the cottage. They called him the coward of the cottage for some time during that. But was that his only plight? No, we've got a short history of Justin Trudeau's scandal here from National Post. And this is just a short list. Honestly, there's many more. The scandals started early. They kept going. Some involved gifts, others involved lobbying. Still others involved forgotten chalets by the finance minister. But we have a list here, the Aga Khan scandal, which has come back up in the news because it looks as though Justin Trudeau has incriminated himself in that scandal. And it looks like there may be a police investigation into the fact that he may have broken actual laws against fraud. So that might actually turn into criminal allegations. His costumes in India, who cares about that? I mean, it's not really a scandal. Costume part 2. But there is the blackface scandal. And it seems that he has a tendency to do that. It wasn't just one time. It was an ongoing thing. Groping allegations from 2018. Newspaper wrote a piece. In 2000 emerged a reporter alleged that Trudeau, who was 28 at the time, was at the Kokanee Summit in Creston, BC, raising money for a charity. An editorial in the local newspaper said Trudeau is accused of groping and inappropriately handling a female reporter during the event. So that is like a personal attack on him, like a personal thing that obviously is terrible that he would do. But we're more interested in what he's done as a prime minister. The SNC Lavalin scandal, of course, was a terrible one, where what was her name again? Jody Wilson-Raybould, who was our governor attorney at the time. I believe that's the name of the title. Anyway, she wanted to pursue legal action against SNC Lavalin for their involvement in some very inappropriate thing with other world leaders and things that they were doing here in Canada. She wanted to pursue that, which is her job, and she is it's at her discretion whether they bring charges and actually criminally pursue SNC Lavalin. And she got fired after Justin Trudeau and his cabinet had put pressure on her to not pursue the charges. And what did they do? He fired her, moved her. Well, it said he didn't fire her, but instead moved her to another position, brought in another guy who would drop the charges. I mean, we're supposed to have in this system of democracy and the slippage that he says, we have slippage and a tendency to go towards authoritarianism. He is the one that he's referring to in this. It's absurd, the words that are coming out of his mouth and the things that he says in public as he speaks to people of other countries and people of our own great nation here in Canada. But let me know what you think. Leave a comment in the comment section down below, because it seems like he almost believes his own BS. Do you think he believes his own BS, or is this just an act that he's putting on? Because we know he was a studied actor, and that was That's the career path he has decided. Just it brought him to the position of Prime Minister of Canada. Anyway, we'll see you in the next video. Keep on trucking.